So we have been studying Ezekiel, and I want to just point out something interesting, something I found interesting about the prophecy of the book of Ezekiel. First, I want to make sure we were having some audio issues with the Pal Talk last night. Are you guys able to hear me this morning pretty clearly? Is it breaking up or is clear? Okay. I would also assume that I did not check, but I would also assume that the recording of last night's message came through pretty clear. I didn't hear nobody posted anything about any issues with it, and so praise the Most High for that. I would like to point out some things with regard to the prophecy of Ezekiel. As you recall, when we first began this study in the beginning of the book of Ezekiel, the prophet pointed out, or should I say the Most High himself pointed out through the prophet, that the judgment upon the earth begins with the people of the Most High. And if you recall, we studied several scriptures. Remember, we looked at Ezekiel chapter 8 at first, and let's just review that very quickly. We're going to just doing some review here. Ezekiel chapter 8. Ezekiel chapter 8. If you recall, the Most High saw the evils that were going on within the house of his chosen people, and he promised he was going to bring judgment on them. And again, let's look at it. Ezekiel chapter 8. And he was showing the prophet Ezekiel the different forms of apostasy that was going on among his people and among the leadership, the spiritual leadership of his people. Let's take a look at that. And I'm going to start at verse, let's see. I'm going to start at verse 12 of Ezekiel chapter 8, and I'm going to go down to verse 18. Ezekiel chapter 8, from verse 12 to verse 18. Notice what it says. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Yasha'al do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imagery? For they say, Yahweh seeth us not. Yahweh hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a like thing to the house of Judah, that they commit abominations, what they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury. My eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. Though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. Then we went on and we read chapter 9, which we're not going to go into now, that showed the judgment began at the house of the Most High with the ancient men, which are the most experienced, not just in terms of age, but the most experienced teachers, the leadership. It began with them, and then it went throughout the city. And if you recall, the command was to smite everything that did not have the mark on their foreheads. If you recall, it was to smite everything with this destroying weapon that did not have the mark in their foreheads. And of course, we also read in 2 Peter chapter 4. Wait, no, it's 1 Peter chapter 4. Yeah, 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4 1 Peter 4, let us look at verse 17, 18, and 19 of 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17, 18, and 19. And this is just review. We've already studied these things. I'm just reviewing this for the sake of today's lesson and just observation that's going to help us, I pray, for our continued study here in the prophecy of Ezekiel. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahweh. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of Yahweh commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing as unto a faithful creator. So we can see here, judgment begins with the Most High's people. The book of Ezekiel shows us that, and of course it shows that the Most High brought punishments on his people. And we can see it even unto today. He's brought punishments on his people. Daniel told us in chapter 8 that the time was going to be long. It was going to be a long time of punishment and being under the control of heathens. A long time. In fact, over 2,300 years is what he showed Daniel. And so we can see the results of this, and we can obviously see this, being that we understand that the Negro man, the man that is called Negro, is the true descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we can see that his condition on this planet Earth has been one of the oppressed. He has been oppressed. He has been afflicted. And it doesn't matter actually what land he dwells in. He can be in the United States, and it's obvious he's been oppressed here. He can be in Brazil, where actually the majority of the Negroes on earth live that's outside of Africa is in the nation of Brazil. And they are greatly oppressed there. They are oppressed in whatever nation they have dwelt. They have been oppressed, they have been exploited, they have been afflicted, as they should be according to prophecy and according to the punishment of the Most High upon them from the sins that we have committed and from what our fathers have committed. But the Ezekiel does not stop there. The order of things is, first, his house gets punished, then he moves to the heathen. He doesn't stop punishing with his people. He moves on to the heathen. Okay, and he starts punishing the heathen, and he had used the heathen to punish his people. Then he turns around and punishes the heathen. And then finally, after he goes through his laundry list with the heathen, he comes back and restores his people. That's the order of things. So first, he punishes his people. He warns them with prophets. They refuse to be warned. Then he severely punishes them. He puts them in slavery. He puts them under oppression. He puts them under cruel taskmasters. He puts them in a bad situation. They become the tail and not the head anymore. And so they become a byword. They become, all the things that are evil that can happen to a people happen to his people. Then he begins to awaken his people. Okay, he begins to awaken them. And as they are awakening, his attention turns now to the heathen. And now he's going to bring punishments on the heathen. And once he completely starts to punish the heathen and his people are awakening, he brings forth his people and he blesses them at the end with the kingdom. And anyone from among the heathen, as they are receiving their punishments, that repent, as he asked his people to repent, when they turn from their sins and the sins of their fathers, they will be grafted in to the nation of the Hebrews, the Israelite nation. They will be grafted in through the Hebrew Messiah. The Israelites are saved by faith, and the heathen are saved through faith, according to the scripture. So the scripture shows us that. And so what we have been studying up until this point, as we're going through Ezekiel, we have been studying how the Most High warned his people and the history of how he has warned them in the past, even when they were in Egypt. And we studied how he's punishing his people and how he promised he's going to bring fury upon them. So now, as we've studied that in the first 24 chapters, now it's time he's going to turn his attention to the heathen. He's going to turn his attention to the heathen. And he's going to start off in Ezekiel. His first stop is with Edom, Moab, and Ammon. Edom, Moab, and Ammon. Did you hear what I said? Edom, Moab, and Ammon. That's the first stop that he makes. Edom, Moab, and Ammon. Okay. So I think it would behoove us, or it would be good for us to understand who Edom, Moab, and Ammon are. Right? It would make sense for us to understand who they are, and then we can actually see who they are today. Who they are today. Okay? Now, I think any of you all who have heard of Hebrew Israelites, and this is a room of a Hebrew Israelite, and there are other Hebrew Israelites all over the earth as the awakening has begun. But I think you have heard some Hebrew Israelites, in fact, I would say many, that would tell you, or that would say to you, that Esau is what we call the white man, the quote-unquote white man. They say that he is representative of Esau. And some of them will say this because that they say, the reason they say this is, and let's look at the scriptures. Actually, let's begin to look at the scriptures in the book of Genesis. Let us look in the book of Genesis. And, where the beginning is, Genesis. And let's look at chapter 20, let's see, chapter 24. Let's see here. Yeah, chapter 24. And we're going to start here with Isaac, where Esau was born. Chapter 24. Chapter 25. My fault. Genesis chapter 25. Genesis 25, where Esau was born. And let's look at Genesis 25. I'm going to begin at verse 20. Going to begin at verse 20. And I'm going to start at verse 20, and I'm going to read down to verse 26. Okay? Actually, I'll go down to verse 30. From verse 20 to verse 30. Isha, thank you. From verse 20 to verse 30, Genesis chapter 25. Notice what it says. And Yisha'ak was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian, of Padan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Yisha'ak entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red all over, like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Yisha'ak was 60 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew. And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. Yisha'ak loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said unto Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. Okay, so you can see here, he was born of Rebekah, or Rebekah, and her husband, Yisha'ak, or Isaac, which is the child of Abraham. So he was born of a couple, a black couple, and she had twins. Now, one thing I think it is known generally, but I just want to repeat here in terms of carnal things. A black woman is capable of giving birth to any shade of color baby. See, just because she marries a black man, it does not mean the babies are going to be jet black or brown or any color. A black woman can give birth, because of the chromosomes that she carries, she can give birth to a child that can be almost any shade or color. Okay? Whereas, generally speaking, a Caucasian woman can only give birth to a Caucasian child unless the father is not Caucasian. If he is a black man, then that child may come out dark. But generally speaking, if two black people get together and have children, their children can come out and be just about any shade. And that's been shown. Okay, that's been shown many times. So Esau came out and the Bible said he was red. Many people think this to mean he was Caucasian. No, he was not Caucasian. But let's say, for the sake of argument, he might have been Caucasian. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, he might have been Caucasian. Okay? Let's just accept that for now. Esau, and I want you to notice, Isaac or Yesha'ak was 40 years old when he took a wife. Okay? Because that's generally the age that men took wives in the Bible, when they were 40 years old. And the wives were generally teenagers, or even like late teens, early 20s. The wives were generally much younger. Why was that? The reason that was is, again, I want to stress the difference between biblical marriage and modern marriage. In the Bible, the woman was much younger because she could have more children. The man was older because he was stable financially, or perceived to be more stable financially. He can take care of the woman. She could have more children, and hopefully they wanted sons, because sons can grow up and do what? Take care of the mother, who would generally outlive her husband because she was much younger. Does that make sense? There was no Social Security. There was no unemployment, and people didn't go out and get jobs like they do today. So generally a man was about 40, and generally the woman was like late teens, early 20s. And again, he was more established. He could take care of her, and they wanted sons because sons were able to take care of mommy when she got older. Okay? And daddy would no longer be around. So here in Genesis, let's stay in Genesis chapter 26. And let's look now at Genesis 26. And I'm going to read verse 34 and 35 of Genesis 26. Genesis chapter 26, verse 34 and 35. Notice what it says here. And Esau was 40 years old, just like Isaac. Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, and Bashemoth, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, which were a grief of mine unto Yesha'ak and Rabakah. Now, let me ask you, why would you perceive that him marrying these two women were a grief of mine? Why were they grieved that he married these two women? What was their grief about? What were they not happy with? Can you tell me? Some people might say, well, because he married two wives? No, it wasn't because he married two wives. That's right. Because he married two heathen women. He married two strangers. They served other gods. The Hittites are from the children of Heth. And let's look and see, just for the sake of thoroughness, where does Hittite or Heth, that's when if you look up Hittite, they originate with Heth. And where does Heth come from? Matter of fact, let's just show that here in Genesis chapter 27 before we go further back in Genesis and show it again. And let's look at Genesis chapter 27, verse 46. Genesis 27, 46. Notice what it says, Genesis 27, 46. And Rabakah said to Yesha'ak, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do unto me? So when they saw that their son Esau took two Hittites, which were the daughters of Heth, Rabakah came to her husband and said, I don't want my other son to marry these children here, these heathen women. What good? Because she was trying to protect her son too, because she was trying to send him away because she knew Esau was planning to kill him. So the daughters of Heth are the children of the Hittites. Hittites and Heth are the same. Where do they come from? Let's take a look. Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 10, excuse me. Genesis chapter 10. And let's take a look at this. Genesis 10. Going to begin at verse 6 of Genesis 10 and go down to verse 15. From verse 6 to verse 15, Genesis chapter 10. And the sons of Cam, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Ra'amah, and Sabtaka. And the sons of Ra'amah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babal, and Arak, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Ashar, and builded Nineveh, the city of Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rasan, between Nineveh and Calah. The same is a great city. And Mizraim begot Ladim, and Ananim, and Lahabim, and Naphtuim, and Pathrusim out of Casluim, out of whom came Philistine, and Kaphtorim, and Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. So now, you can see that Heth obviously comes from the family of Ham. Ham is the father, they say, of the dark races. Everybody understand that? Testing 1, 2, 3. So Ham is the father of the dark races. So Ham's family were all dark people. So here, Esau, let's say if he was Caucasian, let's say if he was pink. I don't believe he was. He was red, which doesn't mean he was pink, but that's okay. He married 2 black women. Does that make you follow me so far? He married 2 black women, the daughters of Heth. Okay? All right. We're not done yet. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 28. Genesis chapter 28. So because of Rabakah's complaint to Yesha'ak, they sent Yaakov or Jacob to the family of Rabakah, who was related to Yishak and Rabakah. It was Abraham's family. They sent them to get a wife from their family. You see, what they did in those days, even their family was also idol worshiping heathen. But if they could not get somebody that was the same religion, they'd at least get somebody in the same family. So they went back, and that's what Abraham did. Abraham got Yesha'ak's wife, Rabakah, from his family. So now Rabakah and Yesha'ak, seeing that they were among the Canaanites in the land of promise, say, look, we don't want our second son to marry any of these women. So go get somebody from our family. So they send Jacob away to go find a wife among Laban's family, which is their cousin. Okay. Now, Esau noticed that. And so notice Genesis chapter 28. I'm going to read verse 6, from verse 6 down to verse 9. Okay. Genesis 28 from verse 6 to 9. Notice what it says. And Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take him a wife from thence. And that he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And that Yaakov obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Padan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael and took unto the wives which he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Yishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. So he wasn't listening to his parents, but then he noticed that Jacob obeyed his parents when it came to this wife thing, and his parents weren't happy with the 2 wives he got. So he goes and gets a 3rd wife. The third wife is a child of Ishmael, who is, of course, Abraham's son. And Ishmael's mother was from where? Where was Ishmael's mother from? Where was she from? Well, she was from Egypt, Mizraim. Mizraim is a child of Ham. Again, the father of the dark races. So now he has married now 3 black women. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you following me? 3 black women Esau married. And from these 3 black women that he married, he developed his whole nation of Edom, started with these 3 black women. Now, what are the odds that 3 black women are going to have a child with any man and all the children going to be white? What are the odds? Can you just tell me from your own experience, from your own common sense, what are the odds 3 dark-skinned black women are going to get pregnant from the same man and have multiple children with this man and they all going to be white? Makes no sense at all, does it? I mean, absolutely zero, right? So now that I just like to point this out when brothers talk about the white man is Esau. I mean, biblically speaking, it makes no sense. Okay, it makes absolutely no sense. But we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We're talking about Ezekiel today. We're talking about Edom, Moab, and Ammon today. So we see now Esau was a black Esau. Let's just bring it straight. Esau was a black man. He was just red. A black man that's red. So wait, have you ever seen a black man that's red? Well, let me tell you one of the most famous black men that's red. One of the most famous black men that's red, that's now dead, but he was red. Who is that? The most famous, they used to actually, that's right, Malcolm X, they used to actually call him red. They used to call him red because he was red. So was Malcolm X the Caucasian man? I think we can all agree Malcolm X was definitely not a Caucasian man. Definitely not. Absolutely. So they called him red. So Esau was probably the original red. You know what I'm saying? So he was a black man from a black man and a black woman that was red. Okay. Then he went and he married 3 black women from the Hamites. First 2 women of Heth, which were Hittites. And then he goes and marries Ishmael, right? And his mother was an Egyptian, Mizraim. And his father was black too. Okay? So now Esau marries 3 black women. He starts his nation with these 3 black women. Okay, so now let's continue. So now we go to that's Edom. That's where you got Edom from. Okay? So we got to look at Moab and Ammon. So we got Edom so far. Again, I'm bringing all this out because when we go to Ezekiel chapter 25 today, it's going to be talking about these 3 nations. So we need to know who they are then and who they are now. So far we know who they were then. So now we know Edom created a nation and it was from 3 black women. That's a black nation right there. Okay, that's a black nation right there. Testing 1, 2, 3. Y'all got me? Okay, that's a black woman. That's black nation right there. Okay, so now let's look at Moab and Ammon. Okay, let's look at Moab and Ammon. Now, I'm going to start at Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11. Shem, of course, the oldest of Noah's 3 sons. I know people try to say he's the youngest because of a verse I'm going to read, but it's not actually saying he's the youngest. And the reason we know he's the oldest of the 3 is because every time they are mentioned, Noah's 3 sons, can you tell me what is the order that they're mentioned in? Every time Noah's 3 sons are mentioned in the Bible together, they're always mentioned in this order: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Isn't that true? Am I telling a lie or am I not? Every time they're mentioned together, they're mentioned as Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, why would they mention them in that particular order? Every time they're mentioned, they're always mentioned in that order. Why would he do that? Because they're always mentioned by order of birth. You got me? They're always mentioned by order of birth. So now you have Shem. And let's look at Genesis chapter 11. We're talking about Edom and Moab now, which we're trying to get the origin of Edom and Moab. Okay, so we have Shem. And now Shem, let's begin at verse 11. Let's see. No. Wait. No, let me go back. I want to go back. I want to start at Genesis chapter 10. I want to start at Genesis chapter 10. Right. Like Cain and Abel. They always say Cain and Abel. Why? Because Cain was the firstborn. So they always go in order of birth. So let's look at Genesis chapter 10. And I'm going to start at verse 21 of Genesis chapter 10. And I'm going to go down to verse 25. Genesis chapter 10 from verse 21 to verse 25. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder, even to him were sons born. The children of Shem, Elam and Ashur and Arphaxad and Luid and Aram. And the children of Aram was Hawol, Gathar, and Mash. And Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Pelag, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So, they are mentioned Eber because from Eber is where we get Hebrew. You get Hebrew from Eber. Okay? You get Hebrew from Eber. So now, when you come from, we're going to follow this lineage. We're not going to do what I'm saying, but if you follow this lineage from Eber, and Eber had two children, one was Pelag and the other was Joktan. The Bible, when you go to Genesis 11, it does not follow Joktan's lineage anymore. It starts to follow Pelag. And from Pelag, you go all the way down to Abraham. Okay? And Abraham is the uncle of Lot. So these are all Hebrews, because you get Hebrew from Eber. So all of these people are Hebrews and they're Shemites. Everybody got me so far? So they're all Hebrews and they're all Shemites. All right. So now in chapter 11, it starts again. They start at Shem again, and they go down, and they're going down the lineage, and they get to Nahor. Let's start there. I'm going to start Genesis chapter 11 from verse 22 down to verse 32. Genesis chapter 11 from 22 to 32. And Sharag lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And Sharag lived after he begot Nahor 200 years and begot sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now, these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, the father of Yishka. And Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So now you can see Lot is Abraham's nephew. Lot's brother Haran had Lot's father was brother to Abraham. So Abraham had a brother named Haran. Haran had a son named Lot. And Lot and Abram were uncle and nephew. Everybody got that? So Lot was Abram's nephew. Lot was a Hebrew of the lineage of Shem. Okay, Lot was a Hebrew of the lineage of Shem. So now, when Abraham was called to leave Ur the Chaldees, his father, as you can see, his father started to leave. He started to leave and go to the land of Canaan, but he stopped in Haran and he died there. Then Abraham was called to continue to go. And Abraham went. So then Abraham went, and let's start there. Genesis chapter 12 from verse 1. From verse 1 down to verse 5. Genesis chapter 12 from verse 1 to verse 5. Okay? And now Yahweh said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And Abraham departed, as Yahweh had spoken unto him. And Lot went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came. So now Lot wasn't married yet. Lot left Ur the Chaldees with Abraham to come into the land of Canaan. Now, when they got to the land of Canaan, Lot and Abraham started to be blessed in their substance in terms of their cattle. Okay? And it got so bad that they couldn't even share the land together. Their herdsmen were fighting. So Abraham decided he's going to let Lot choose whatever part of the land he wants to go there, and just leave Abraham and his thing alone. Okay? So let's look at this. Genesis chapter 13. Genesis chapter 13. And I'm going to begin at verse 8 of Genesis 13. And I'm going to go down to verse 13. From Genesis 13, from verse 8 to verse 13. Notice what it says. And Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between thy herdmen and my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan. What did it say? All the plain of where? Wait, did you notice that? All the plain of where? It said, keep that in mind. We're going to need to remember that. That's in verse 10. In verse 10, and Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of where? Jordan. That's very important for you to remember. Okay, remember that. Jordan. It's the same Jordan that's there today. It's the same Jordan. Okay? All right? All right. And it was well watered everywhere before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Mizraim, as thou comest unto Zoar. And Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan. And Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahweh exceedingly. So I just want you to picture what this looks like. The land of Israel, which was the land of Canaan, and the land of Jordan, even to this day, is separated by the Jordan River. The Jordan River separates these two lands, these two areas. On the west side of the Jordan River is Israel. On the east side of the Jordan River is Jordan. Everybody follow me so far? So on the west side of the Jordan River is the land of Canaan, which later became Yasha'ah. On the east side of the Jordan River is Jordan. They were commanded to go to the land of Canaan. Lot chose to leave Canaan and go to Jordan and settle there. Now, in that land was Sodom and Gomorrah. Today, that's where you got the Dead Sea. They call it also what? The Salt Sea. Why? Because it's filled with dead human beings that turned to salt, that were burned up like sulfur. Okay? They call it the Dead Sea. That's where Sodom and Gomorrah used to be. And that's where Jordan, that's foot of where the country of Jordan is right now. And that is where Lot went. Okay? All right. Now we know the story. These brothers was messing up so bad. These homosexuals were going absolutely buck wild in Sodom and Gomorrah, to the point where the father sent his son Michael down here with 2 angels to do work in Sodom and Gomorrah. And as you know, they sent Michael sent the 2 angels to Sodom to take care of that business and destroy that place. And as you know, Abraham interceded for the people of Sodom, particularly for his nephew Lot. And as you know, the 2 angels took Lot and the people that was with him, that would come with him, and pushed them out of the city before it was destroyed. Let's take it up right there. Genesis chapter 19. Genesis chapter 19. Going to read from verse 12. Going to read from verse 12. And go down to verse 26. From verse 12 to 26, Genesis chapter 19. 12 to 26. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son-in-law and thy sons and thy daughters and whosoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we will destroy this place, because the cry is waxing great before the face of Yahweh, and Yahweh hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for Yahweh will destroy this city. But he seemed as one mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, the angel hastened Lot and said, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters. And Yahweh being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my master. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold now, this city is near to flee unto. It is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape hither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come hither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. And the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. And then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities in the plain, and the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. So we can see here, the place was destroyed. And then, what ended up happening, it was just Lot with his 2 daughters. Okay? Let's take it up from verse 30. And let's go from verse 30 to verse 38. Follow me now. I know we're doing a lot of running around. Stay with me, because you're going to need all this as we go to Ezekiel. Okay? So now, Genesis chapter 19 from verse 30 to verse 38. Genesis 19, 30 to 38. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him. For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Bon-Ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. Now, I want to say to you that it is clear that Lot dwelt in the land of Jordan. And those two nations, Moab and Ammon, are unto this day made up of the same nation, Jordan. Also, Edom, the southern part of Edom, is also Jordan. So Jordan is made up of Edom, what was once Edom's land, what was once Moab's land, and what was once Ammon's land. Y'all got me so far? So the nation today of Jordan is made up of three people. It's made up of Edom, which was Esau, is made up of Moab, and is made up of Ammon. That is the nation of Jordan to this day. Now, there have been changes, and we're going to talk about that. There have been great changes because, obviously, as we spoke, Edom is a black nation. So was Lot. I mean, he was there with Sodom and Gomorrah. They're a black nation. Okay, well, if you look at Jordan today, it's not a black nation. They're very light Arabs. They all were Arab now. They were all Arab. All of them people were Arabs. But now, with that backdrop, and we understand where these people come from and who they are, let's look at Ezekiel chapter 25. Ezekiel chapter 25. It's a short chapter, but it says a lot. Ezekiel chapter 25. And as I said before, we have seen how judgment began with our fathers, with the nation of the Negroes, the nation of the Israelites, of the children of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Judgment began with them. And now the Most High is turning his attention to the heathen, starting with the Ammonites, the Edomites, and the Moabites. And let's look at Ezekiel chapter 25. And let's begin at verse 1. And let's go down to verse 5. Ezekiel 25, 1 to 5. Watch carefully. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against the Ammonites, and prophesy against them, and say unto the Ammonites, Hear the word of the Most High Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because thou saidst, Aha, against my sanctuary, when it was profane, and against the land of Yasha'al, when it was desolate, and against the house of Judah, when they went into captivity, behold, therefore I will deliver thee to the men of the east, pay attention now, for a possession. And they shall set their palaces in thee, and make their dwellings in thee. And they shall eat thy fruit, and they shall drink thy milk. And I will make Rabbah a stable for camels, and the Ammonites a couching place for flocks. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Now, we've stated that the nation of Jordan today is the same landmass that Edom, Moab, and Ammon dwelt in then. It's the same landmass. So Ammon is now in the nation of Jordan. One part of Jordan is what was Ammon, which was one of Lot's children. Now, if you were to look on a map, can anybody tell me what nation is east of Jordan? This is because he said, I'm going to make the men of the east take your land for a possession, and they're going to dwell in you, and they're going to use you. What nation is east of Jordan? If y'all want to Google it, look it up, whatever you want to do. What land nation is east of Jordan? Nope. East. Jerusalem is to the west. I'm talking to the east. That's going toward India. So you got Jerusalem to the west, then the Jordan River, then you got Jordan, and then there's another nation right after that. Nope, not Egypt. Egypt is south. The next nation is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. What did I say? The nation east of Jordan is Saudi Arabia. Why would that be significant? Well, let me ask you this. What is the most revered place in Saudi Arabia? What is the most famous place in Saudi Arabia, and why is it famous? I know I'm taxing your mind today, but talk to me. No. Iraq is a separate nation. There's a place. Tanya. In Saudi Arabia is Mecca. Why is Mecca significant? Because Mecca and Saudi Arabia is where Muslims consider their most holy place. Why? Because that's where that's where Muhammad, the founder with the Roman Catholic Church, of their religion is from. Okay? So they came from the east and they took over Ammon's land. And they made Ammon Muslim. Testing 1, 2, 3. Isn't that what happened? Isn't that what happened? So they came over, them Arabs came from the east and they took over Jordan, where Ammon was, and where Edom was, and where Moab was. I'm going to tell you something else that's very significant. Something else very significant. Jordan was not always an independent nation. For many years, it was controlled by another nation. For many years, it was controlled and it had agents. And in fact, to this day, it's controlled by this nation on the DL, on the low key. So what nation is that? The United Kingdom. Jordan received its independence granted to them by the United Kingdom, the same way India did. So you had the sons of Japhet controlling Jordan. When did that begin? They started controlling Jordan after they became Islamic. And they started also controlling Jordan. They started coming through with the Greeks, with Alexander the Great. This is even before they became Islamic, actually. Let me just back up. Alexander the Great and them came through first. And they also came through Egypt. That's why they turned the capital city, Kemet, into Alexandria. You hear that? Alexandria. They changed it. And that's why they started messing with the noses on all the statues. Because they didn't want to see them black people acting like they had their own civilization that was more advanced than theirs. So what they did, they started shooting off all the noses and the lips of the statues. They want you to understand these black people ruling the world no more. No, it's our time now, Japhet said. So they took over, they changed the name. They took all of the knowledge that the Egyptians had all the 1,000 years and they brought them back with them to Greece and they started calling it what? Greek philosophy. You think Plato and Aristotle, all these people come up with original stuff? Them people ain't original. They got all that stuff from down there in Egypt. But they rolled through Jordan too. And then later on, sons of Japhet came back and took over. Took over India and Jordan. Just like the Bible said they would. Okay? And so now you got a combination. You got a combination of Edom, Moab, and Ammon, and Japhet. So Esau is, and that's why I think sometimes people might say Esau is the white man, because he mixed himself with Edom, Moab, and Ammon. He did. He mixed himself with them. So that's why they so light. That's why them Arabs are so light today. Because over centuries, they mixed themselves and took over the land. That's why they light in Saudi Arabia. And the dark people that are in Jordan and Saudi Arabia, they slaves. Do you know also the largest part of the Jordan population doesn't come from Jordan? The largest part of the Jordan population comes from Palestine. They were run out of Palestine by them heathen that call themselves Jews, by the sons of Japhet that are posing as Israelites. They were run out of there. And do you know where the word Palestine comes from? Do you know the origin of the word Palestine? Do you know who gave it that name, Palestine? That wasn't the original name. That wasn't the original name. Palestine, if you look it up in your concordance, the origin of the word Palestine, watch closely now, Philistine. Philistine, that's right. So the Philistines, who are Hamitic, then the Romans changed their name to Palestine. The Romans changed their name to Palestine. And most of them are in Jordan. There's like I think like out of 10 million people in Jordan, like 7 million of them are Philistines. So you got Philistines, you got Edom, you got Moab, you got Ammon. They all in the same country. Okay, and the Most High is punishing all of them. All right, he's punishing all. So now let's continue. Ezekiel chapter 25. And why is he punishing them? Because they were joining in, kicking dirt on us when we were getting scattered, when our nation was being destroyed. They were joining in and cheering at our demise. And so we belong to the Most High. We are his chosen people. So they were cheering. Notice what he said. He said, because you said, aha, against my sanctuary and profane, and you said, and against the land of Israel when it was desolate, and against the house of Judah when they went into captivity. You saying, aha, yeah, right. Well, now we're going to turn it on you now. Because those are my chosen people. Yeah, they sinned against me, but they still my chosen people. See? So he starts here with Ammon. And that's why when you look at Daniel chapter 11, it says, Edom, Moab, and Ammon shall escape out of the Pope's hand. Why does it say that? Because Edom, Moab, and Ammon are with the Pope. They won. As a matter of fact, the queen, the Jordan king's wife, is from the sons of Yafet. She's a daughter of Europe. She's from Europe. I'm not sure if she's American or if she's English, but she's from Europe. The king of Jordan's wife. And the king of Jordan is a direct descendant of Muhammad. A direct descendant of Muhammad, the king of Jordan. Of the man from Saudi Arabia, from the east. Okay? So let's continue. Ezekiel chapter 25, from verse 6 down to verse 12. Ezekiel 25, from verse 6 to verse 12. Notice what it says. For thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because thou hast clapped thine hands, and stamped with the feet, and rejoiced in heart with all thy despite against the land of Yasha'al, behold, therefore, I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and will deliver thee for a spoil to the heathen. And I will cut thee off from the people, and I will cause thee to perish out of the countries, and I will destroy thee, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. For thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because that Moab and Seir do say, behold, the house of Judah is like all the heathen. Therefore, behold, I will open the side of Moab from his cities which are on his frontiers, the glory of the country, Bath, Jeshemoth, Baalal, Ma'an, Kiriathaim, unto the men of the east with the Ammonites, and will give them in possession, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. I will execute judgments upon Moab, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Now, to this day, it's the same land, and them people are the bloodline of Moab, Edom, and Ammon, but nobody calls them that. Because they so mixed up with them Arabs from the east, they so mixed up with them Caucasians from the north, you don't even know who they are anymore. Testing 1, 2, 3. You follow me? You don't even know who they are. Why? Why did he do that? Because they were despising his chosen people. Now, let me just let's stop for a minute before we continue. If the Most High punishes Ammon and Moab because they rejoice at the destruction of his people, what's he going to do to the people that actually put their hands on his chosen people? What's he going to do to the people that actually put chains on his chosen people? What's he going to do to the people that are actually exploiting them? Oh, yes. There's going to be problems. There are going to be problems. And we're going to see that as we continue to study the book of Ezekiel. So let's continue now. Ezekiel chapter 25. Let's start at verse 13. Because he done brought the noise against Ammon. He done brought the noise against Moab. So now it's Edom's turn. Let's go to the Edom nation, that black nation from Esau. Let's go to them. And let's see what happens to these Arabs. These people that are Shemites, but not Israelites. They're not Israelites. They're Shemites. And they're even Hebrews. But they're not Israelites because they're not from Isaac. Okay? Let's go from verse 12 down to verse 17. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended, and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Yasha'al, and they shall do in Edom according to my anger, according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Most High Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because the Philistines have dealt by revenge, and have taken vengeance with a despiteful heart to destroy it for their old hatred. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will stretch out my hand upon the Philistines, and will cut off the Cherethiim, and destroy the remnant of the sea coast. And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am Yahweh, when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. So now, when the Most High brings vengeance, if he's not using his chosen people, which he normally uses them when they are being redeemed and they're getting the land back, which is what's going to happen, he uses other heathen to punish heathen. So if the Philistines were on the sea coast, let me ask you a question right now. What land is on the sea coast right now where Israel dwells? Talk to me. And what's going on over there right now? Talk to me. What's going on over there right now? What land is over there? That's the Philistines. I gave you the answer earlier. I gave it to you. What land is there on the sea coast in the Mediterranean that's on the other side of Israel? That's right there at the water. What land is that? Y'all know what it is. I gave you the answer already. It's Palestine. Palestine, right? You remember Palestine? Palestine is on the west. Palestine is Philistine. Remember that? Palestine is Philistine. So he said, so the Palestine, what's going on with Palestinians right now? What's happening with Palestinians right now? Are they living large? I mean, what's going on with them? I mean, are they living comfortable? What's happening with them? They getting spanked. They getting oppressed. They getting beat down. Who they getting spanked and oppressed and beat down? Well, it's them Caucasians that come from the north and call themselves Israelis with the backing of their cousins, the sons of Yafet from the UK and the United States. Isn't that true? They catching a beat down from the United States, the UK, and the sons of Yafet that come from the Caucasus Mountains, Togarmah, that come from Togarmah, Gog and Magog. That's who they are. Gog and Magog. Okay. Togarmah, Gog and Magog, Caucasus Mountains, and Ashkenaz. They're the ones that's in the land, and they spanking them Philistines. They spanking them because the Most High is allowing it. Why? Because the Philistines came against his people. Now, check this out. Check this out. So Ammon, Moab, and Edom, they came against his people. The Most High is using the sons of Muhammad, the Arabs from Muhammad from Saudi Arabia to spank them. And then when they conform to that, he's using the Ashkenazis that come from Togarmah to spank them. And the sons of Yafet all that spanking them. Rome is of Yafet, right? Rome is of Yafet. We know that. It's in Europe. That's where Yafet comes from. Rome, Moab, is right. Edom, they're all tied together now. All of them are together now. Who they together against? Well, once they wipe out these Palestinians, which is apparently what they're getting ready to do, they're getting ready to destroy them off the land because it's punishment to the Philistines. Once they do that, and the Bible says the Pope going to set his palace in the glorious holy mountain that's going to be in the land. They're going to set up themselves right there. And then they're going to try to destroy who? The true Hebrews. Because in spite of all that's going on, in spite of all that fakeness, in spite of them trying to call themselves the seed of Abraham, we are still here. And as long as we are here, we bear witness that we are the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the Father's Spirit will bear witness with us that we are the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they will want to kill us. To take, they want to destroy the evidence. That's what they do, right? I always call it destroying the evidence. Like, whenever I go to eat something and I want to eat it all because I'm being my wife calls it a lambio. My wife say I'm being a lambio. So I want to eat all that's left of something. If it's a cake, or I haven't been eating cake in a while, so praise the Most High. But if I was eating cake or cookies or anything like that, and I don't want to leave any left, I'll eat it all up, and then the box I'll throw it away to destroy the evidence. So that there's nothing left. There's nothing left. There's no remnant of it left. It's gone. Nobody knew it ever existed. It's in my belly, and in the box it was in, the evidence is gone. Right? I don't do that no more because I'm not eating no cookies and cakes and pies right now. Praise the Most High. Yah. But the point is that they're going to have to try to destroy us because we are the evidence of who the true Hebrews really are. So they're going to have to try to destroy the evidence. You hear what I'm saying? So now you got Edom, Moab, and Ammon. And like I said, I could understand in terms of why some of the Hebrews say Esau is the white man, only because the Esau that is in Jordan is now being controlled and is mixed with the Caucasian man. He's mixed with the Caucasian man. He's controlled by the Caucasian man. There's no question about that. But not all Caucasians are Esau. Right? That's not true. Because you got Ashkenazis, that's not Esau. Right? You got Ashkenazi Jews, that's not Esau. And you got people, from all these other nations of Yafet, they're not all Esau. So, they should chill with that. But anyway, so now you understand what's going on in Ezekiel 25. He's punishing Edom, Moab, and Ammon. The nation of Jordan has been taken over by the heathen. They've been taken over. And you don't even recognize the black people that were there anymore. And then so they all become Muslim. And then on the other side, the Palestinians, which are the Philistines, they are being destroyed by the sons of Yafet. And they being spanked because of their sin against our people. Now, I'm not saying they deserve it. I'm saying they can repent just like we repent if they want to. They can come to the truth. They're not going to get any justice in this world because this world is controlled by Satan. And Satan's main people are the sons of Yafet. So they're not going to get any justice. All they can do is look up to the Most High. Allah's not going to help them. So they're going to have to turn to the Most High. So that's where we come in. That's where the 144,000 come in. That's where the true message of the Hebrews, that's where the true message of the justification by faith through the one true God comes in. Okay? That's where it comes in. And the Most High will bring it forth in his time. Praise his holy name. Let's stop here and take a break. Let's have a word of prayer.